One of the things that I've written in this book is a definition of leadership. And in my mind, in my heart, I believe leadership is resisting the urge to settle. You just read that. You're wanting to know more about it. And as a leader, God is getting ready to call you to a huge decision, whether it's removing a weak staff member, whether it's displacing from a position of leadership, a volunteer, and placing them in another area, whether it's asking a servant leader or deacon, whatever you call it, or a board member to reevaluate why they're in that position. There's going to be those kind of calls if you're going to go to the level God is asking you to go to. You have to be ready and determine in your heart that God has asked you to do it, and do it. I can say in 7 years, and I know that even in the first 3, some of the hardest decisions I had to make is on staff, volunteer staff, because we didn't have any paid staff until our 4th year. Volunteer staff, getting them in the right place, it's a difficult decision. Deacons that were not in the right position. Making decisions on Wednesday nights to expand growth, like I mentioned earlier, removing pews, making name changes. You have got to be ready to make the difference, because the cause is not to make people happy. The cause is to grow God's church. And be ready. Be ready to make that difference. Be ready to make that difficult decision and stepping up to the plate. I believe so many pastors are not willing to lead because they're not called to pastor. They're just typical good teachers that love Jesus, but they're not called to lead a church. And to have that bishop, that episcopos, 1 Timothy 3 call in your life, you've got to be ready to lead. Teaching good and getting blackberry cobbler every other Sunday or so because you teach a good Bible lesson is not going to grow God's kingdom. It's going to take leadership, it's going to take pain, it's going to take suffering, and it's going to take getting off of the back row, so to speak, and getting on the front row of leadership and leading out in your congregation. Not desiring to keep the certain family happy that may give the most or may be the ones that are the loudest talkers in the community, but be willing to have an audience of one. My son, KJ, plays a little bit of basketball, and when he was 7 years old, he made his first shot in a game. There was probably 150, 200 people in the audience, probably similar to what this will seat here, maybe 100 people, 75 people. They were all in the audience, and he made his first shot, and I told him, I said, kiss it off the magic square. He kissed it off the magic square, and he turned and he looked, and guess who he looked for? He wasn't looking for anybody else. He was looking for one person, and that was me, his dad. As leaders, as pastors, as those called to areas of ministry that require that kind of leadership, especially the senior pastor, you must be ready to make the tough decision, because you have an audience of just one father, one dad, just like KJ. So be ready, step up, and God's going to bless and show His favor on your leadership as His shepherd for His body.